The ongoing escalation between the United States, Israel, and Iran has once again reminded the world how fragile global systems can be. What began as a geopolitical confrontation has quickly spilled into global aviation routes, energy markets, and travel confidence. The Middle East, long serving as the connective corridor between Europe, Asia, and Africa, now faces uncertainty, and tourism is one of the first sector to feel the shockwaves. So today we ask, in a world where geopolitics can disrupt travel overnight, how should destinations and tourism industries respond? So my first question is from Professor Wolfgang, and I really want to get the global perspective. Tourism has always been vulnerable to geopolitical shocks. With the current escalation, disruption, aviation routes, and regional stability, how do you see this affecting global tourism flows in the coming months?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me to take part in this podcast. And of course, we all are aware that this has interrupted, as you just rightly said, the flow, especially between Europe and Africa on the one hand, and Asia on the other hand, of physically of aircraft. So it's very hard now to travel between Europe and Asia, except with China. Chinese airlines still use the Russian airspace, so you can still fly to China, but that's almost the only thing you can do. But I think it is more than that. It is, of course, also bringing back some old ghosts. Some we thought we don't have to care so much or fear so much anymore. Terrorism. So the idea that it's not safe and that somehow your aircraft or your airport you're using will be attacked, and so. We all hope that the fighting will stop soon and people will stop to be killed on all sides very soon. But this will be something which will have an effect for the coming years, that so people will again, like it used to be in the 1980s or so, scared and more careful. And of course, already we had, for instance, 2 weeks ago, there was the ITB last week, the ITB in Berlin, and the opening speech was given by the former foreign minister of Germany, Joschka Fischer, and he was already saying, like many people say, oh, we need to concentrate more on domestic tourism now, or maybe regional tourism, so that because there will be this disruptions and in international or transcontinental travel. So this will be something which will be gone for the next years, and of course it is our job as a tourism industry to help that the peaceful interaction between people is taking place. And it is, as you rightly said, it's a reminder that how much tourism is depending on peace. I mean, we all have still in our mind the pandemic, but the pandemic was something not man-made. It was something nature, like an earthquake. But this one is a man-made disaster, and we know who to blame. I think everybody in the world knows that. But so this is something where we have the job to raise our voices and to do whatever we can do to end this and to bring back and even more than before, the idea that tourism is something where strangers meet, and if it works well, become friends at the end. So that forms of tourism which are not transformational, where you just go to an all-inclusive beach resort with a high fence around, or you travel around on a cruise ship and you never meet any local people, that this is not the form of tourism which is.
So let me bring in Mr. Rana in the discussion. Just to highlight the Pakistan's perspective, these disruptions are happening in a region that historically functions as a global transit corridor. When airspaces close and oil price rise, tourism industries everywhere feel the impact. So, how should countries like Pakistan interpret this movement?
Yeah, thank you, Adeeba, for inviting into this talk. It's a very unfortunate situation right now because we were very optimistic for 2026 because after COVID-19 in 2020, we have been recovering and passing through various phases of recovery. As you have seen that this was the biggest ever kind of a crisis in the world and especially in the tourism industry, because never in the history of tourism there was such a big decline as it happened in the crisis of COVID. The tourism went down almost 74% at global level, and there was a much greater impact in the Asia Pacific region where decline was more than 84% even. So we were very much optimistic in 2026 that we have recovered back to the same level as 2019, and it will be a very prosperous year for tourists around the world in tourism sector. But you never know what is happening around, and something somewhere can happen and shatter all your hopes which you have to boost the tourism. In any case, such kind of crisis can happen anywhere and at a very short time of notice. And as you see, nobody was thinking that such thing can happen in the Middle East, such a big crisis which can envelop so many countries in the region, especially the region which is very active in tourism as a transit destination, because most of these countries provide transit to from west to east and east to west and north south. So it's a very important hub of connectivity which is now affected. But obviously we have learned many lessons from the COVID-19 and certain other small crises. The only way is now is to adopt a kind of a crisis resilient tourism management approach, and that approach is very well, in ground, which we have practiced in many countries during the COVID, and it's based on the shifting of the market focus from one region to other region, shifting geographically and structurally the way we operate tourism. Obviously, there are certain regions which may take a bit longer time to recover back, but obviously there are some regions which could be, still be focused on, because travel never stopped. You see, even in biggest crisis of COVID, there was some activity of travel and tourism taking place. So for a country like Pakistan, obviously we are facing crisis in the coming summer season, because summer is the main tourist season when we get the foreign tourists arriving in Pakistan, and also our own diaspora when they get summer holidays, they visit Pakistan and their families and friends. So that will be affected this year, because quite a lot of traffic is basically passed through the Middle East region. Almost 65% of our tourist traffic from West and northern the countries from Canada and North America is passed through the Middle East region. Obviously, they'll be the one who will be now thinking more seriously to stay back instead of traveling to Pakistan. But still, we have room to have tourism from Far Eastern countries, from the Central Asian region, from China, and from maybe Australia and New Zealand as well. So we need to now shift our focus geographically towards these countries in terms of attracting foreign tourism. But for foreign tourism, we are always focusing on a niche market. As in Pakistan, we are not focusing on a mass foreign tourism. As you know, we have a very small foreign tourism coming in Pakistan, but our mainstay has always been on the domestic tourism market, which is a very strong segment and effectively has improved manifold in the last many years. And we are very closely monitoring the situation. And if conditions do not stay back in the peaceful mode very soon, So our strategy will be to focus more on our domestic market, encourage our own tourists to visit places in the north in summer season. That's how we can sustain our tourism industry. Obviously, the focus of our modified strategy will be to provide a safe touristic experience to visitor, try to maintain the economic impact of tourism on the faraway small communities in the mountains, which actually survive all on tourism during summer season. And side by side, we need to see how better we can improve the emergency response in these areas by improving the hotline, by improving the tourism police services, by also providing up-to-date information through social media to our own domestic market. So in this particular time,
so Pakistan has begun to rethink its tourism strategy, perhaps relying less
we are
on
working on
long-haul
that.
travel.
We are these days working on an alternate plan. If the situation do not improve very soon, so our mainstay and main focus will be more on the domestic tourism market, and then we will shift for foreign tourism interest in the Far Eastern countries and Central Asian countries.
Right. Professor Wolfgang, Europe today receives hundreds of millions of travelers every year, but it is also a continent that experienced devastating wars in the last century. From that historical perspective, what lessons can destinations learn about rebuilding tourism after geopolitical instability?
Yes, thank you. So indeed, listening to my esteemed colleagues, so I think, well, that fits very well with the different hats I'm wearing. So on the one hand, I'm CEO of COTRI, China Outbound Tourism Research Institute. I've been working for 40 years with the Chinese outbound market, and I fully agree, of course, at the current situation, it's a good idea to look east, and obviously China is the biggest outbound market in the world, and to attract more Chinese visitors. Second point, so to your question, yes, I'm a German, now I'm living in Nepal, but I spent most of my life in Germany, and of course in Europe, it was for somebody like me, in the last 350 years, every German man was asked at some point to shoot at somebody else in Europe because that person had a different uniform. And so the French people and the Polish people were supposed to be the arch enemies of the Germans for many, many years. And now, very fortunately, so we are having the European Union, and we all live together, and we are all friends. And the young people, I know this from my students when I was a professor in Germany, the young people don't even know that they were supposed to hate each other, or that their grandfathers were hating each other, but totally hate each other. So this crisis can also, of course, be an opportunity to bring also the region closer together and to say, okay, that the past is the past, and there were people who were doing bad things in the past, and well, the Germans were certainly doing a lot of bad things in the past, for sure. But so this is something long time ago. So let's turn over a new page and resolve the questions, territorial questions or whatever there is still pending, and bring understand that. So domestic market is important, but also to bring more regional cooperation, and tourism again can maybe be a promoter of such ideas. And the third thing I want to say is so that my main job now is to be the director of the Meaningful Tourism Center. So this is an approach we have developed in the last years, saying that you need to have all stakeholders happy and having benefits from tourism. But it also says you have to adapt to the new tourism demand. And so if you concentrate on the summer season, so the question is how can you get out of the seasonality? And already the keyword has been named already, niche markets, so not mass market. And so there are a lot of people who are interested having specific hobbies that might be architecture, that might be food, that might be nature, wildlife, and so on. So that for a destination like Pakistan, which is a very beautiful country and a country full of history and full of friendly people, so that so to develop special interest tourism is also an opportunity, and maybe again that you can use this crisis as an opportunity to sharpen the access not only geographically, from which countries your customers are coming, but also what can you offer in a more specific way, because we see the big shift that tourism is not about recreation anymore. So the people who go to the beach and to do nothing, just getting a suntan, this is a smaller and smaller part of the market, and more people, because the average age is also going up. We have more senior people who are more interested in doing something meaningful, in encounter people, not just be there in a resort isolated from the locals, but meet local people, learn about local culture, have transformational experiences. So that is also, I think, an opportunity for the domestic market, but also for the international market, to say, okay, what do we actually offer, what we have not been leveraging so much, and what can also be done in other times of the year than in summertime. So how can we promote Pakistan as a destination for specific topics? And if you are interested in architecture, why you don't need necessarily to come in the summertime. You can do this year round, and many other examples. So I think therefore it is a disruption, and yes, it will be difficult. And I'm based here in Nepal, and of course for Nepal it is also very, very bad, because there's no other way than by aircraft.
Yes, this is an aviation disruption. And,
but so therefore, I think it is like the pandemic. Many people have been using the pandemic, and that they didn't have customers and they had more time than their wishes for, to upend their offers and upend their game. And I think this is now again the situation that hopefully we can use this. And especially in South Asia, we can use this to improve our offers and move with the changing demands, which are now for more customized and individualized and specialized offers. And we have AI now, which is helping us a lot to simplify the search for specific information and specific offers. So that is something which can be used much more now. Then it's much easier than it was before to find what is on offer and where can I find to do something what I'm interested in. So I don't know, mountain biking. I was
okay. Let me bring Mr. Rana in the discourse now. We know that thousands of flights cancelled and many airspaces have rerouted. So many flights, many airlines have seen this as an opportunity. And I was reading that airlines like Turkish Airline and Singapore Airline and many other in the Southeast Asian countries have increased their share in European market, because the Gulf carriers have halted their operations, suspended them temporarily. So how do you see this as an opportunity for Pakistan's aviation industry?
Yeah, Adiba, obviously, because of this crisis, the most immediate affected subsector is the aviation. As you have seen, because Middle East is a big hub of aviation industry, especially Dubai Airport, Doha Airport, and airport in Riyadh and Jeddah. They receive a lot of traffic from west and east, rather all directions traffic comes to that area. And now, because the crisis is not only the aviation industry, but obviously due to this war, there's an issue of the availability of the fuel. Prices are going up in the market, so difficulty is also in terms of the maintaining the cost of the air travel. Most of airlines have already started increasing their prices. So obviously this will affect the decision-making process in demand side, because when the airline will increase the prices of the air tickets, people will think to travel to the nearby destination instead of going far away destination. So pattern will be more towards the destination which are close to the hometown, which are easily accessible by maybe bus services or railway services. And because of the difficulty in terms of the getting right connectivity of the shorter routes, because now most of the flights are avoiding the Middle Eastern region and they are adopting longer distance flights to connect the destination. So that is also the reason their flight fares are increased. So in this kind of situation, obviously the geographical boundaries will create a lot of difference. For Pakistan, it's a quite difficult situation because we have a war on our western borders in Iran and in Afghanistan, and we already do not have any traffic from east side, which is India, because of the geopolitical issues. The only border which is open is the China border, and that is only in the summer season as well, because it's one of the highest border and it remains closed during winter season. So very little traffic will penetrate from China even. So our heavy reliability is on the air connectivity for bringing in tourists to Pakistan. I'm not talking about only the foreign tourists, but our big segment of foreign tourism is the Pakistani diaspora, which is in the Middle Eastern market, in Europe, in Canada, in America. Even they will be shy to travel to Pakistan when the fares will be very high in terms of the indirect flights coming to Pakistan by using longer routes. Although there's a 5 million Pakistani diaspora in Middle East market, and there are many who will be interested to flee back to their home country in this difficult time, but they may not be taking decision because it's very expensive to travel at the moment by taking a longer route flights. So they are just watching the situation even in a very difficult time. But still, there is an opportunity for certain airlines which are in the safer zones, like in the Far Eastern countries and the Central Asian region. It's an opportunity for them to, capitalize this situation and to provide aviation connectivity through the safe passages, using good connectivity and enhancing their maybe the number of flights connection which they have for the time being. So it's a both. I mean, it's very difficult to balance. You see, there's a difficulties for the airline sector as well, but for certain maybe there's an opportunity.
But I'm asking in the context of Pakistan's aviation industry. How do you see Pakistan aviation industry capitalizing on this opportunity? Because you see, Middle East has been the connectivity corridor for so many decades, and it has centralized the connectivity for so many years. And now we see there is a chaos around the world. So how does Pakistan need to think of it?
Yes, you see, aviation is a capital-intensive industry. You need a lot of capital to, invest into the aircrafts, buying and hiring and getting lease and all that. So you cannot get any strong benefit of this situation for Pakistan at the moment. because we cannot respond back as quickly because of the financial issues which are linked to this aviation sector. Yes, Pakistan can provide maybe a safe corridor by providing its aviation services of the Islamabad, Karachi, and Lahore airports. So the flights could touch these airports and get the fueling, get the transit. That is an opportunity. But enhancing flight or getting the real momentum out of that, it's not very easy to do in short period of time.
Right.
Yes. So maybe if I can support this, so on a positive side is we should not forget that also the travelers from the east, so Chinese, Southeast Asian people who had planned in the summer to travel to Europe or to the Middle East or through the Middle East to Europe or even to America, so they are also now stuck, and they can and so therefore this is an opportunity for Pakistan as a destination, and that also will need increased air connectivity, of course, so that there are also many Chinese tourists who might have been traveling to Italy now say, okay, I can't go, where else can I go? And that is the opportunity to wave the flag of Pakistan and say, hey, how about you come to us? We have a lot of attractions also for you. So that is also, on the one hand, we will have less Europeans coming to Pakistan because of this blocking of the transit route. But on the other hand, you have, of course, more East and Southeast Asian people having to find a new destination for their summer trip this year, which gives new opportunities. And as I said before, especially if you can show them that you have, for their special interests, you have the right offers, the right services.
Mr. Rana, in Pakistan, thank you, Professor Wolfgang. I want to ask Mr. Rana that earlier we discussed that domestic tourism in situations like these can become the backbone of resilience. Now, what policy changes are needed to unlock Pakistan's domestic tourism potential?
You see, Adeeba, as I mentioned, that Pakistan has a very strong domestic tourism market, and more or less 6 million people who travel within the country, especially during the summer season, which is now coming after 2 months, is a time when most of the families, friends, they travel towards northern areas. They visit beautiful valleys and resorts in Gilgit-Baltistan, AJK, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and northern Punjab. So that is a segment on which will be now focusing. And obviously, due to this crisis, many of those Pakistani tourists who usually used to go to European countries or to other countries to spend their holidays, I'm talking about the high-end tourism market from Pakistan, outbound market. Now they will even not be able to travel easily to these countries. So we obviously need to diversify our products to cater that market as well, which is well off. They used to spend their holidays abroad. So focusing on all these elements, the high-end, middle-end, and the youth tourism market, we will be now more focusing on creating such packages which are affordable and which are going into even new destinations, which we have not focused in the past very seriously, because we know that the flow of domestic tourists will certainly increase in coming summer season to these destinations. So obviously the one challenge which now we are facing is the shortage of fuel in Pakistan. As you know, that government have already imposed an emergency in Pakistan to save the fuel. There's emergency in the offices. We have been asked to work from home, work in offices even 4 days out of the 7 days working period. Many other measures have been adopted because the crisis can become more severe in coming days. So that need to be very closely monitored. Even if people are willing to travel, but there's no fuel available in the market, they cannot travel. Fuel is the main thing to run your vehicles, your aircraft. and obviously in many cases it need to provide the energy in terms of electricity in the hotels and most of the tourist destinations. So situation is not as easy, but obviously we need to keep all these factors in mind. There is a crisis, as Professor Wolfgang mentioned. In every crisis, there's an opportunity as well. So we need to see how still we can survive in a better manner and maintain the momentum of providing economic activity to the faraway communities which actually rely on tourism businesses. And if they are not provided support, it is not easy for them to survive even in the winter times, because only they work in 3-4 months in summer and save their earnings for the whole year. So it is essential for us to at least adopt certain measures which keep on the momentum of the tourism, even at a limited scale. If we not even can do it on the full scale, but at the limited scale, it's not totally closed down. So that is a big challenge on which we are now thinking how we will maintain that. But obviously, it is too early to say anything at this stage, because still things are happening. Maybe we are looking for a very positive outcome of the negotiation which have now started among the leaders. Hopefully, they'll be finding some solutions to go for the peaceful settlement of this crisis as early as possible. So we all could be, out of this big crisis, which could become more severe if it is not handled properly.
Professor, what are your thoughts on how can destinations sustain momentum and keep their tourism industries moving forward?
I think Mr. Rana has already mentioned a lot. It is in the short term, of course, we will have to deal with fuel crisis. So I remember I was in 2015 after the earthquake. I was here in Kathmandu when the Indian government blocked the supply of petrol to Nepal because there were some political issues, and how difficult it was in a situation after an earthquake not to have petrol. So that is something, you have to deal with, and you have to find solutions. But I fully agree. We have to look, of course, to the time after the actual crisis and the actual bombing and dying of innocent people has hopefully soon stopped. And so therefore, clearly, what we are promoting is what we call a meaningful tourism economy, which the PATA, the Pacific Asia Travel Association, has adopted as the official vision of PATA for the Asia Pacific region, to have a meaningful tourism economy, which means that all participants are having benefits and satisfaction, and which means that tourism is really organized in a way that it is helping the rural communities, so not only big hotel groups, but that the money stays in the country and is reaching down to levels of the people who need to have their livelihood secured to tourism. So that is something where we. Oops.
Thank you.
Sorry.
So, what's
okay? We're back. Yes. So that is something where adaptation, diversification. That is what exactly needs to happen, and where we can use this time out. We have, even if we don't like it, we can use this time out to think harder about what kind of tourism do we want, because Pakistan has the good situation that, as Rana said, you have not been relying on mass tourism. You are not like Spain or this kind of destination. So that means your resilience can be higher, because the offers you have are very specific already, and if you develop it further, then the people will travel. I mean, that is one of the good lessons we learned from the pandemic, that people want to travel and they are traveling as much as they can. And even if there's economic crisis, they rather spend less money on other things, but they still want to travel. So that is the positive outlook we have. We can be sure that the demand will come back as soon as it is possible. But yeah, as we said, look at all the markets available. Don't concentrate only on your traditional markets, and look at different forms of traveling. So you have health, you have education, you have many areas which are beyond the traditional idea that you go for recreation, which become more and more important. The average age of travelers is growing up. We have less young people in most countries, especially when we talk about East Asia and Southeast Asia. You see you have more, especially affluent older people and less young families. If you look at the Chinese market, the number of babies born is half now what it was 10 years ago. So you have much less young families and you have much more 65-year-old couples which used to spend all their time and money on their grandchild, and now there is no grandchild, so they can use the money for themselves and they use it for traveling. So if you recognize these kind of source market segments and say, okay, what can we offer for affluent, best ager couples or small groups who have an interest in culture and are able to afford good to pay for their trip, but they will be demanding good quality. How can we offer services to this kind of markets? Just to take this example, then Pakistan can get out of this crisis stronger than it was before.
Right. So from today's discourse, we can conclude that even in times of geopolitical uncertainty, tourism will continue to evolve. The real opportunity lies in using these moments to build more resilient, well-connected, and sustainable destinations. I thank you, both of you, for your valuable insights and giving the perspective in these turbulent times. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Adeeba. Thank you, Dr. Wolf.
Thank you. Thank you, Rana, Mr. Rana, and thanks, Adeeba, for your chairwomanship. Okay. And
wonderful.
Please, everybody, stay safe.
Thank you.